Welcome back, 7th grade Richmond Scholars. I'm Ms. Whitaker, and I'm excited to have you join me for another math lesson. This is week 5, day 1, and we will be discussing concepts related to SOL 7.10d. Let's get started. First, let's review the U-Try questions from the previous lesson. At this time, you should check your answers. If you answered any of the questions incorrectly, take some time to see what you did differently. Lastly, you are going to correct your answers. Okay, I will go over the answers with you. So, number 2. In number 2, you are given a table of values and asked to find the y-intercept and write an equation to represent the relationship. We are going to be writing equations in the form of y is equal to x plus b, where b equals the y-intercept. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find the relationship between your x and your y values. Okay, so figure out how can you go from x to y. How can I go from 0 to 5, 1 to 6, 2 to 7? You can add 5 to each x value to get the y value. Okay, this is true for all of the y and x values in the table. If you add 5 to the x values, you will get the y values. Therefore, your y-intercept is it represents the relationship, the additive relationship between x and y. So your y-intercept is equal to positive 5. You are adding 5 each time. So you write the equation by substituting your y-intercept for b. We will write, so we write the equation y is equal to x plus b, and you will substitute b for your y-intercept, which was 5. Then you keep the rest of the equation the same. So the equation reads y is equal to x plus 5. Number 3. So you're going to do the same thing with number 3. They give you a table of values. They ask you to find the y-intercept and write the equation that represents the relationship. So you're going to find what is the relationship between your x values and your y values. Each time you can see that between the x and y values, the y values are smaller than the x values, right? So how can I go from 6 to 3, 8 to 5, 10 to 7, and so on? You can subtract 3. This does represent an additive relationship, so you could add, or you're really adding negative 3 to your x values to get your y values. But you can represent adding negatives as subtracting. Okay, it's easier. So therefore, you can just represent that as subtract 3. So your y-intercept is a negative 3, and you will substitute your y-intercept in the equation for b. So the equation will read y is equal to x subtract 3. Okay. Number 4, they give you another table of values, and it compares the weight of items to the total weight. So again, look between your x and y values and figure out what's happening between the two values. So 1 to 4, 2 to 5, 3 to 6. How can I go from 1 to 4 or 2 to 5? You can add 3. 1 plus 3 will give you 4. 2 plus 3 will give you 5. And so on. This is true for all of the values in the table. Therefore, your relationship is a positive 3, and so is your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is equal to positive 3. Okay? And once you found your y-intercept, all you do is substitute it for b in the equation. So y is equal to x plus b is now y is equal to x plus 3. Number 5, determine the y-intercept and write an equation in the form y is equal to x plus b. Here they give you a verbal description instead of a table. Okay, Shavante was 6 years old when her brother was born. If you think about it, her brother is 0 years old when Shavante is 6. Therefore, it does not matter how old he is. In order to find her age, you must add 6 to his age. So x will represent his age, y will represent Shavante's age. You always add 6 to his age to get her age. So the additive relationship between x and y is +6, and you will substitute 6, your y-intercept, in the equation for b. So where it will say y is equal to x plus b, it now says y is equal to x plus 6. For every cat in a neighborhood, there are 3 additional dogs. So each time you will be adding 3. Okay, that is the additive relationship between the number of cats and the number of dogs in the neighborhood. So if there were 3 cats, you add 3 to the number of cats and you will get 6 dogs. So x is the number of cats, y is the number of dogs. Okay, and you will add 3 to the number of cats to get the number of dogs in any situation. So to write that in equation form, you substitute your y-intercept, which was 3. You're going to substitute that in for b. So where it would say y is equal to x plus b, it now says y is equal to x plus 3. So let's move on to the actual lesson. Today we will be learning how to graph a line representing an additive relationship, y is equal to x plus b, where b does not equal to 0, between 2 quantities given an ordered pair on the line, and the y-intercept b. The y-intercept b is limited to integer values, and the slope is limited to 1. So we will only be using a slope of 1 in our lesson. Materials needed for today's lesson: you need a pencil, paper, preferably graph paper because we will be graphing, and a ruler or a straight edge. Make sure to write all of your notes, guided practice, and your you-try problems down in your notebook. If you have access to a printer, you can print out slides 7, 8, and 9 and use those to follow along with the video. Okay, let's discuss some vocabulary words. Today we are going to be working with non-proportional relationships. So we're going to be dealing with vocabulary words that relate to non-proportional relationships. So non-proportional relationship, when the ratio between 2 quantities do not have a constant rate of change. Okay. So they do not have a constant rate of change. If you look at the graph, you know a proportional relationship goes through the origin. And this graph, it does not go through the origin. So the graph is representative of a non-proportional relationship. Additive relationship is a relationship where you add the same number to any x value to get the corresponding y value. Additive relationships are also non-proportional relationships, okay? So if you look at the table, to get your corresponding y value, you must add 2 to each x value. That is an additive relationship, and this is true for all the values in the table. X is equal to x plus b is the equation of the line where the slope is 1 and b represents the y-intercept. So in this in this equation, y still equals or still represents the dependent variable. X represents the independent variable, but b represents the y-intercept. And also, again, the slope is 1. Okay. Lastly, y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. It is also the y value when x is equal to 0. So here, you see that the line does not go through the origin. It crosses at a specific point on the y-axis. So here, it would be the y-intercept is equal to 0, positive 2. Okay, it is the y value where x is equal to 0. So now let's practice graphing a line given an ordered pair and the y-intercept. I'm going to read all of the steps and then go into more detail when we go through our examples. Step 1, plot the y-intercept by creating the ordered pair 0b, where b is the y-intercept. Step 2, plot the ordered pair given. Step 3, plot additional points using a slope of 1. Step 4, to plot underneath, it should say underneath or above the point given. Use the opposite directions of your rise over run. Depending on where your point is on the graph, you might have to go above that or below it. Okay, so example 1. They give you the point +2, +1, and the y-intercept of -1. Okay, so we all know ordered pairs are written in a specific order. They are written x, y. So therefore, you find your x coordinate first and then your y. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plot our y-intercept. Okay, so you go to the graph, to the origin, and you create the ordered pair 0b, with b being the y-intercept. So if the y-intercept is -1, your ordered pair that you're going to find is 0, -1. Or you can just go to the origin, and if they give you the y-intercept, you're just going to go to the origin and you're going to find the number on the y-axis. So if I'm at the origin and I'm looking for -1, I am going to go down 1 unit. Okay? So you're at the origin, go down 1 unit on the y-axis, and that represents your y-intercept. Now we are going to plot the point 2, 1, the given point. Okay? So again, you know the plot points, you run. So you find your x coordinate first before you jump. So you find your y coordinate second. So go back to the origin, and to go to plot +2, +1, you are going to go 1, 2 to the right on the x-axis, and then 1 up on the y. Okay? Y. Okay. Oh, well, maybe. Okay. Just make these bigger then. All right. So after that, you are going to plot additional points using your rise over run directions. So you know we're gonna have a slope of 1, which means you have to turn that slope into a fraction so we can find change in y over change in x. So a slope of 1 is equal to 1 is equal to 1 over 1. Okay? So if +1 represents a change in y, that means your direction would be 1 up. Because on the y-axis, the positive numbers are going up. Okay? And then 1 also, +1 also represents a change in x, which means you are going to go to the right towards the positive numbers on the x-axis. So that direction would be 1 right. Okay? So your directions are 1 up, 1 right. Okay? And you're going to do this to find additional points on our line. So from this point here, you're going to go 1 up, 1 right, 1 up, 1 right, 1 up, 1 right. If you want to fill in this section here, you will go in the opposite direction. So 1 down, 1 to the left. To go below, This point here, you will go in the opposite direction, which is 1 down, 1 left. 1 down, 1 left. 1 down, 1 left. Okay. After that, you are going to grab your ruler or your straight edge and create a line. Connect the dots. Okay. Now you have just created or graphed a line given an order pair and the y-intercept. Now you are going to attempt to do example 2 on your own. Pause the video, try to graph the line given this point and this y-intercept, and then hit play when you're ready to go over it together. So example number 2, they give you the point -6, -1, and the y-intercept of +5. So again, we're going to graph our y-intercept first. So go to the origin, then find +5 on the y-axis. So 1, that will be 5 up. So 5 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, plot your point. Then you are going to plot the point -6, -1. Go back to the origin. -6 will be 6 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the x-axis going left. And then -1 will be 1 unit down. 1 unit down on the y-axis. Then after that, you are going to apply additional points using your rise over 1 direction. And remember, we are only dealing with a slope of 1. Therefore, our directions will be 1 up, 1 right. So from here, 1 up, 1 right, plot your point, 1 up, 1 right, plot your point. 1 up, 1 right, 1 up, 1 right, 1 up, 1 right. Now, if you want to go underneath, you will go in the opposite direction, 1 down, 1 left, 1 down, 1 left. Okay? To go above, 1 up, 1 right, 1 up, 1 right. All right? And after that, grab your ruler or your straight edge, and you are going to connect the dots. And you have graphed a line given an order pair and the y-intercept. Okay, so at this point, you're going to attempt to do some problems, some independent practice problems on your own. You have 4 problems to complete. When you are finished, you're going to head over to Clever, log into Dreambox, and complete 2 Dreambox lessons. All right. You try answers will be displayed in tomorrow's lesson. Please remember, with all of these problems, you are dealing with a slope of 1. Okay, so your directions will be 1 up, 1 right. All right, to fill in the points on the line. All right, that's all I have for today. I will see you guys tomorrow in the next math lesson.